Hi my fellow YouTubers, thank you again for just listening to this. It's only a quick intro. I just want to tell you that I'm already working on 2018 Horoscopes. So you guys can pre-order if you want to kind of take advantage of a much better price. At this stage, one individual sign is going to cost $19.95, and if you want all the signs, it's $39.95. So that way you can actually just put it in and wait for about December, I think 4th or 5th, when actually I'm planning to release them. And these prices will go up within a month, and then again within a month, for the full price being $30. So $30 and $50 versus $19.95 and $39.95. So hopefully you take advantage of that. You can just go to www.cattarot.ca/pre-order and you're on your way. Thank you guys. And also, okay, hopefully I'll be seeing your orders for the annual Horoscopes, and let's jump into monthly November Horoscopes right now. Hi Capricorn, and welcome to your November monthly forecast. So let me just jump in. So first of all, I drew the rune Sowella, and I actually have my own names both for runes and I Ching and yoga and everything. I just kind of like want to accommodate him to something that is comfortable for me to understand. So this is my Harry Potter rune, right? So Sowella is the rune of the sun. So it kind of like foretells that even if you go to the dark places, the sun will shine, right? And the rays are really, really important for us. So this also kind of like resembles flash of lightning, as you can see. It's kind of coming to some kind of understanding. And for you, basically, it's going to be something that is going to push you in a certain direction, a new direction of your fate. So as I said, even the blackest of circumstances, which we are going to address, as I noticed there'll be few popping up, is going to be kind of like, they're going to be seen as, okay, they are behind me kind of a thing, right? So Sowella is an excellent rune to draw when you're in trouble, right? Because the happy outcome is certain. So if you guys have a major decision to be made this month, then this is basically going to cast a beam of light on the situation and banishing all confusion and making the issues absolutely clear. Clarity, sunshine, light, right? This is particularly important when it comes to legal affairs, as this is symbolically connected to the virtue of justice, right? Also, this, which you are going to like to hear, is connected to the workings of the human heart, and it's considered a really, really good omen for your love life, and it's adding warmth and affection, and it's banishing clouds and coldness and probably hard attitudes. If you had any of that, right, it's going to kind of predict that things will turn around. So that's from this darkness to the light, and predicts a long and happy partnership. And I didn't draw the second rune, but sometimes the combination can even predict marriage. So this doesn't have inverted feeling. This doesn't have inverted position, pardon me, and meaning. So hence this message is always positive. So let me jump in. You got this card of ancestors. So first of all, you are an earth sign, right? So you kind of like things that they do have the past, and you want to build your future. It is kind of like really important for you to kind of like stay in that trajectory. Tradition is actually very important to you, right? So in this card, like, we kind of like have this understanding that we are a result of a long, long, long line of ancestors. And of course, how many before us had to kind of be for us to actually be born. However, does this also mean that we are inheriting spirit from the same ancestors, or is it maybe just completely different, separate thread? Because we maybe are biologically connected to one thing and soulfully connected to maybe spirit beings. And this is where we see this Australian aborigines, right? They kind of consider their ancestors through basically their culture, and this is their rainbow serpent, which is basically invoking the spirit that is creating all life on earth, which kind of, as you can see, intertwines itself, right, through the hand's fingers, and representing how basically they honor all of creation, right? So since basically you're deeply connected to your lineage, and just the most immediate proof of that is who you became. Maybe this is also time to kind of like look into kind of different levels into, is this serving you right? Is this actually good for you? Is this something that maybe needs to be abandoned? Is this maybe something that you don't want to be connected to? So these kind of generations right now, you have to ask yourself if you're living the path that you actually really want to live, or maybe you kind of like want to create a new path for the new generations. Then 4 cards jumped out because I went free flow without any particular spread over here, and you're getting change or Wheel of Fortune. I don't like to translate cards because I know some people like that. That's kind of like not great. Each kind of card, each number in numerology should have certain vibrations, but ultimately kind of they have different meanings. Then we have suppression here, or maybe they have like a very subtle kind of like differentiation of, I don't want all this general, I kind of like really want to pinpoint certain message over here. Then we have creativity, and then we have sorrow here. So basically they kind of jumped out, these two, and I was really wondering how to basically interpret them, given that they're 2 very similar messages, and yet they're almost identical. So just to give you, before I proceed, kind of like my opinion on this is that I have actually 2 very distinct Capricorns that are sending me their vibrations. One Capricorn, as far as generations, who will be continuing on their path. Let me just try to move this camera a little bit closer here. Who will be continuing on their path in their way, in the way that has been all the time. And the other Capricorn that will maybe kind of like try to figure different things out. So why do I say that? Because these 2 cards, they're both fence, and they're seemingly kind of like opposite of each other. While this Wheel of Fortune, the change card here, is this enormous wheel that kind of represents time and fate and karma. So hence it's one of my 4 karma cards, right? In this card here we see this Milky Way and the galaxies that kind of like spin, right? So it is basically saying that the only unchanging thing in the world is basically change itself. That everything that we experience shall pass. If you have a great day, that shall pass. If you have a bad day, that shall pass too, right? So it's sort of like a game of opposites, right? That play kind of like their game in this kind of like circle and pattern. So if you cling to the edge of this, it's going to make you dizzy. It's going to make you either kind of like drunk with energy or drunk with fame, or just like it's going to put you in a big despair. Now, let's talk a little bit deeper about this card, right? Because this is really, as I said, one of my karma cards. Why did I brand it as a karma card? Because in human life, we have, you all guys are talking about soulmates and twin flames and whatnot, and I'm really not big on it unnecessarily, and I'll tell you why. Because people are just looking left and right, and if the car is going to hit them on the coming from the left, or if somebody's going to squish them coming from the right, the truth is where you're going, that most people forget there. So soulmates are just something immediate. Twin flames is something immediate. It meaning that somebody's going to come to your life, and all of a sudden just like the music is going to start, and rainbows and unicorns. No such thing. Now, What kind of people can you attract that can actually help you in your process is a different story. That depends on what you wrote in your karma contract. So I have this karmic reading, which is way more important than soulmates, because there are literally millions of soulmates. Almost like every second, every third person is your soulmate. And they can be insects, dogs, stones, bosses, parents, kids, animals, right? Now, karmic soulmate is a little bit different. It's a person literally of the sex that you're attracted to, that you write in your contract. Why? Because if you stray away from this purpose, if you stray away and slither away somewhere where you're not supposed to be from your contract, right? Just like we do in a 3D world, when somebody kind of breaks the contract, you kind of like are being cold. So you kind of program the soulmates to push you right back, right? So that's why sometimes it feels harsh, because literally they push you right back in. So they are important. They're very important. Usually it's mutual, but it doesn't have to be mutual all the time. It's meaning you help them, they help you in some way, right? So when you become a little bit more evolved soul, when you raise your energy, you actually can jump off this wheel. You can say, I'm not part of this. But you cannot do that before you actually learn quite a bit of lessons, sort of like, let's say, university level, if you want, in the spiritual things, right? So this is telling me, guys, that at this stage, you should watch for any patterns in your life, right? So success, failure, love, hate, right? These patterns are going in these perpetual circles, right? So observe what is really prominent in your life right now. Maybe ask yourself a question: why in the world did you come to this and clicked on this? What was really that you wanted to find out? So if this is like a love question, ask yourself, this is what I'm feeling. Did I feel this before? Did I experience this with someone before? Am I hurting? Am I not hurting? And the last time when this happened, was it similar? So these are kind of these patterns, because it tells me that there is some kind of suppression of feelings, right? Because look, he is literally tied up in knots, literally, in this card, right? Look at that. Everything seems to be pretty grim over here. It would be one of those, I don't know what they call it, Hunger Games kind of movies, right? So the danger is when we suppress our natural energy, which kind of like you're stuck everywhere. You cannot move up, left, right, down. That's my story about crossing the road, right? Is that you kind of like really only time you can crack is sort of like inside, right? So the real message of this card is to find a healing outlet for this potential explosion that might happen inside, right? So it is really for you guys essential to find a way to release whatever tensions and stresses might be building up inside of you right now. So whether that means beating on a pillow, right, jumping up and down and going to wilderness and scream, or just in a car, just like yell out whatever you want to yell out. It's a really great way to let off the steam, because that's almost like a must. You have like 2 karma cards just in this initial spread, and I'm going to follow it with a love reading over here. So something really big will be happening. So this is kind of like one thing that some of you will just continue known and true and tried and true kind of a thing, but you're going to kind of for some reason realize that maybe it's not really working that well, right? So don't wait for the catastrophe to happen over here. Just try to kind of like preempt this. Try to see which patterns are working, which patterns are not working. Now there is like a second layer of Capricorn here that has these 2 cards. And again, one is great, just like here. Like, change is generally a really good card. It's just saying to you, just monitor what's happening around. But then we have this creativity, right? And absolutely beautiful card. Basically, we see this alchemy of fire and water here, right? And it's entering this, I don't know, divine light. Let's call it a divine light here, right? So this card basically talks about creativity and birth of new ideas, or even birth of a child. So it is basically calling of you to kind of like get out, something like that. So you do know that for centuries, just to be creative has been punished. We are actually really lucky to live in these times that we live, where creativity is encouraged, because they used to believe that creativity belongs to creator. And now we all realize that we are all small little creators. So what are you guys creating, right? Remember, we don't possess our creations. They don't belong to us, because this true creativity is like channeling this energy. You're allowing this energy really to come to you, right? And this is both basically a joy and a blessing, but it's also basically something that you need to share with others. So it is calling for you to kind of go into that. So I was really thinking about this when I was like reviewing the cards before the reading, and this ancestor card was this crown here. So something definitely here is connection with your family. It's connecting with how you have been raised. It's connecting with how you live every day. On both ends, I see some kind of suppression or some kind of sadness. Something is not working out the way you want it to work out. You keep following things that you think are tried and true, but some of you are getting really explosive. The other of you are actually just sad. This card here, Sorrow card, is this guy's name is Ananda. He was the cousin and discipline of Gautam Buddha, and he was at his side, continuously attending to his every needs for about 40 plus years, I think, right? So when Buddha died, the story is that he was still at his side, really, really, really weeping, right? And so basically in his surroundings, weeping was not something they were supposed to, or I don't know, that's the best thing to say, to supposed to, that they are supposed to focus, right? In Buddhism, you're supposed to be rejoicing, right? And I think the answer back then, it was, hey, this is what he said to them, you misunderstand. I am weeping not for him, but for myself. Because for all these years, I have been constantly at his side, but I still have not attained. So this is why in the other decks we talk about weeping the whole night, anxiety, right? And feeling this pain, feeling this kind of like victimization, sorry for ourselves, right? The truth is, the message of this card is like saying this is not a good place to be stuck, right? Feeling a victim or victimized is something we need to acknowledge at times. This is not to say it didn't happen, but it's time to actually move to a greater potential, because these times of great sorrow have the potential to be times of great transformation, right? So, but in order to transform, we really must go really deep to the roots of our pain and really experience it without self-blame or without pity. So I think some of you will do that to creativity. Some of this creativity can literally mean not necessarily painting, singing. It could literally mean approaching things differently, while others of you are literally going to have to let the steam out. So sports guys, activate. You will really know which one you are, because this is more physical expression and this is more mental expression of things. So this is kind of like where distinction is. So let's get to tarot part over here. And I don't want these videos to go over 30 minutes, because then I slack on the other signs and then I don't deliver and then I feel bad and then you are pushing me. So I'm just still trying to do the best, okay? So here's telling me again, look, trying to make a decision, kind of walking all this kind of tight rope, which is kind of not easy, and still walking it, even though I think this is not a best idea. So this kind of possibly leads to this, but then this is you guys. It is kind of still motion forward. Some of you will realize, wait a minute, exactly as I said here, this too shall pass, tomorrow is another day, and I'll keep going. And this sturdy, basically a characteristic that you have is something that is extremely beneficial to you, and slow and steady wins the race. So no amount of how slow it is, things will be put in motion. This is somehow talking about finances, talking about kind of like reassessing what works. So hence, this also can be connected to your work, that maybe you have been advancing in a career that has had kind of like each time you think you amount to something, you just like flip right back, and it's like felt like, oh my gosh, I'm this little rat on this kind of little wheel. Where the heck am I getting, right? However, and this might appear on both readings, both your love reading and this one, there's some kind of messaging. There's something, movement is going on. You guys are moving on a new direction. Something didn't work. You are facing something, guys, you're getting rid of something that really, really didn't work. This literally is kind of a weird card, because these swords must be really, really important, right? If they're like putting them over here. Why in the world would they exist here? So there is like something new here. This is just falling right under your creativity card. It's just like peeking out. It already is going to start to exist by the end of November. And you're going to be challenged. And this card also usually signifies a test, right? It signifies, let me just straighten this, that's better. This card signifies test, how you balance yourself, how you ground yourself, in what kind of direction you're going. And this is again the Karma card. This is a card of justice, but it is reversed. So you might end up November on a note of feeling a little bit unfulfilled. I don't want you to fall into this gap and again feeling that victimized, feeling sorry for yourself, just because these two cards, you see 10 and 11, can kind of connect. Not always you're on an up and up. It doesn't mean that your life is not going forward. It's just a simple flow of energy. The time is like of an issue here. And this another Karma card, Justice card, says that even though that at the stage justice maybe didn't seem to be self-evident, keep in mind something is going to look like it's not going in your favor. But this card says that justice will get served. It will get served, right? It just might not happen by the end of November, but keep in mind that everything that is going on here is actually going on in your favor. All of this stuff is happening because if you have a glass that is filled with water, it's maybe a refreshing drink the moment when you kind of fill it in, but leave it on for 5 days and going to have all kinds of new life in there, which necessarily you don't want to drink, right? If you leave it for a month, it's going to be more. So how many years did you accumulate here with some kind of pressures? Some of us go all the way back to the childhood and having our issues and spending time in therapy, right? So then from the Law of Attraction deck, you guys are getting Star, which you probably know. It is my favorite card in the entire deck. I mean, to me, nothing shows more optimism and willingness to go further than actually really looking in a distance, looking kind of like, where do you want to go? So look at this. We are coming in a full cycle from something from behind to going something forward. And this is possibly why they're assigning this card to Aquarians, because Aquarians are forward looking. She's naked in this card because we need to face who we are. We need to face our own truth, right? And this is definitely a card of optimism, right? And you should, no matter what, attempt to make your dream come true. Even if you think the probability is low, which at some point somebody's going to say, no, it's not going to happen. No, you're not going to win in a lawsuit. No, this person doesn't want to. And there's going to be moving on thing. But you see, there is a difference moving on inside of yourself and moving on away from somebody else, because this is definitely telling me that you need to persist. The Star is like, really keep going, because this misfortune that you might feel on some kind of level is just temporary. So refuse to give up when faced with obstacles. That's all I'm saying over here, that it's really important for you to memorize. So I also took, also I want to show you here. This was kind of on the bottom of the deck. That was like the Devil reversed, right? Of course, this is your card. So this month is going to put you in for this spin upside down. So as I said, this keeps on confirming on different levels. Guys, you're actually on the right path. either or you're going to feel it in your head and feel anxiety, or you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, I just cannot take one moment further and explode. So let's just jump in your love portion of the reading. So maybe I should clear this out, because this was sort of general. But general is also part of our life as well, right? So let's go here. I took out, again, just few Lenormand cards. And I took a few tarot cards. Actually, the whole bundle jumped out over here. And just as I always say, you just cannot cheat tarot. And I'm purposely doing so many decks over here just to show you how, you know, we can keep getting zillions of messages and they will always kind of like give us the same motion, because it's kind of like okay to look in a monthly level and even bi-weekly. Weekly is almost counterproductive, because it's, other than, you know, brushing your teeth or having a different hairdo, what can you really accomplish on a weekly level? So that's why I think the minimum guidance should be 15 days. So what do we have here? We have the scythe, the fox, the letter, the mice, the gentleman, the clover, and the heart. So we have that element, the mice and the scythe, that we had it over here. Now, okay, bad news. Let me get the bad news out. That thingy. And where is the other guy? That thingy. Some of you guys might lose your job. Some of you might get laid off and being told that either the department is finishing or that your position is redundant. And it's going to come to you as a surprise. So if you have been thinking about spending any enormous amounts of money or anything that kind of like would be push, I would wait. I really would wait. It's kind of really weird, because like these are two distinct messages. Now you have the gentleman, the clover, and the heart. This tells me that on a love level, you guys are kind of like really going to go on up and up toward the end. So it's going to be luck in love, literally. Clever, the heart. So going to have lucky moments. So this is really good, because generally, you know, with such superficial times we live in, not only that we lose our jobs or something really happens, or you might kind of like have some maybe other income severed, because the fox is always talking about job. It's also talking about somebody being a smart A, right? You know what I mean, ASS. And so if you're dealing with somebody like that, especially at work, I would really, really watch this person carefully and kind of like try to read the signals. But this is still going to come really, really in a shocking way. So that creativity card that you had is maybe also referring over here, and this one as well, because these were two major arcanas, that maybe you have to land on your feet and try to see how you can put your different skills, right? Some skills are transferable. So soft skills, for example, are transferable, and kind of like start writing your new kind of like a resume and CV, but also try to see how you can apply the same skills to maybe something else, because this is saying that actually the time is on your side. You can kind of keep going forward, right? So as I said, sometimes the times we live in, we lose a job and the partner leaves us at the same time, because some people just cannot handle sorrow, and everybody is trying to train us, oh, you just have to be happy all the time, etc., etc. You guys don't try to be happy all the time, because I don't know if you notice the almost similarities that on each of these cards there is a stream of consciousness. Here is like where he has to air out this pressure. And you can see it here, he has the stars in the background, and you did have the star coming in to heal you. So it might feel this month that you're getting a short end of the stick. Luckily your love life, it's not going to be too affected, but let me tell you what also in particular I see. You have 9 of Wands, you have the Devil again, and this is now in your love life, Page of Cups, So there's going to be an opportunity with somebody who is going to really storm in your life, who's going to be so much fun to date. And they might even take away this whole feeling of what's going on. Because the devil is saying, kind of like, it's really, really, really look in the basics. You look at, like, I mean, this money that I'm offering you, why would you think about her when I'm offering her this money, right? So watch the temptation, do the right thing. It's really important because you do have 2 karma cards. Doing the right thing is really important, even though if you get the short end of the stick, because this spins. What today seems to be okay, you think you're going to get away with, you might not get away with tomorrow, and then the history cannot be rewritten. So just be cautious about your actions. Then you also have the 2 of Pentacles and 7 of Pentacles and the 4 of Pentacles. So your material situation is going to really play the role. Look at this. He kind of like is thinking that he put his life in balance, right? And this sentence talks about juggling 2 people, where just like small little thing can set you off. And this is why this was asking you, is your life in balance, guys? Think about that. This is again telling you, continue and fight no matter what. And if you have a relationship where there is a third person, because usually the devil tells me there is a third person hovering around. Could be the ex, could be something, as you can see here, volcano, something that is kind of like working and brewing in the background. But it's going to be a new love offer. At the same time, like, it's kind of like totally 2 distinct messages. For you, some of you will fight for being in a relationship with somebody who maybe has influence from somebody else, or maybe worse yet, are kind of like dealing with one extra person and trying to find a decision. So don't jump into this game. And this is also, since this is your card, asking of you to best you can be, to actually be fair, not to try to use and manipulate with temptation, because this is really good. There is somebody coming, but the somebody, 9 of Wands, they don't tend to stay. Knights don't tend to stay. Knights are just transient. They go to the battle, they come back, right? And I think you're going to get that, because these 3 cards saying it's going to be some kind of adjustment and self-assessment, and where am I going, why am I going, and it's going to be, some of you will be setting up the budgets and kind of like laying low. And that's what we saw in that Knight of Pentacles over here that you had as well. So you're going to kind of come up with a plan, and it looks like for you this month, what you're doing and your job and your business and your ancestors and your family, it's going to take the center stage, because everything else seems to be secondary. Because you're going to try to figure out once for all, why am I feeling certain things? Why am I not progressing forward? Am I really kind of stuck in kind of like this perpetual kind of like bad karma? Or is it something I can do? Yes, guys, there is something you can do. Let this steam out. When you let this steam out, you're moving into a positive cycle. And just take care of the finances. This is again saying this for basically the best for you, because there is some healing that is going to take place. You know, when you work for a corporation, you basically sell your soul to the devil. That's literally what it is. You are on this wheel, you're this rat jumping and doing things that they tell you to do. And we have to play these political games, and you guys are actually really good at it. But it's not to say that you like it. It's not to say that you think it's serving your best purpose, right? So this is saying, even at that, you can still be a really kind of a dignified person and do the right thing. I don't know what the right thing is going to be for you this month, but certainly there's going to be something that will be called upon on you. And to seal the reading, I pulled a card from my Enchanted Map deck, and it was Deep Freeze. I was like, should I pull this different card and not to read them this? It looks kind of depressing, but you know, I kind of like to stay next to the truth. So this is what it says. Everything has its season. Now it's the time to put activity on hold while you rest. and may I add, while you reassess all aspects of your life, including where you came from, your family, to everything else. It says this: the cold winter beckons you to slow down and put a freeze on things that are not ready to bloom. It is time for regeneration and hibernation. Forego ambitious activity. A pregnant pause allows ideas to gestate, projects to shift and change, and relationships to go through a dreamy state of being, not going anywhere and not needing to. This is also time to put all your arguments on ice. Nothing beneficial will come from any of them. Self-care is the most important activity now. So reflect, read a good book or get a massage, rest and dream. So guys, resting is not going to be just resting and doing nothing. It's going to be lots of mental activity. You're starting to go through a breakthrough, and you're actually slightly being pushed into it. Consider yourself lucky that you didn't get Tower, which Scorpio was getting for quite a while, and they're actually pushed into a change. But twice is that your basically card is coming out, and this is a clear signal that you guys need to go, because look at this, you're going from the dark to light. Transformation is not that easy, and this is why saying kind of like really think about your energy. You have to let go any steam, anything that is like not functioning, and then you're going to get forward. So Capricorns, I hope this resonates with you. I only ask you to either, subscribe if you haven't been a subscriber yet, to give me up or down thumbs, because that actually is really, really to the benefit to me to really know how to gauge this in the future. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. And then your actually bi-weeklies are coming up soon. Love you.